Am I interrupting with your busy social life? So, listeners,
I'm sorry. I was just. Well, we might talk about this out this week, but it's everything about George Floyd and Banksy's just done the memorial.
Oh, that's quite nice.
Yeah. No, we may talk about that. Should we start with an introduction and then go into what's going on in the world? Because there's quite a lot.
Yes. Hello, everyone. This is TL2 Podcast with me, Yousaf, and
Hasan or Hasan. I'm gonna stick with Hasan now because that's actually how you say my name.
Except the people at your work and we're like, oh my god,
They
we've
say
been saying his name.
Hasan. Someone wrote to me, "Hi Helen." I like this guy because he's quite a nice guy, but he always writes to me, "Hi Hasan," but it's a Z, so Hazan, which I actually don't mind because I quite like Zs in names.
Sure. I mean, it sounds stupid, but sure.
Hasan.
If you like it,
Makes no sense, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's quite nice.
So, Hasan, why are we doing this podcast?
Because I told people at work that I was going to do it in a vague general attempt to get them to like me.
And do you think that will work?
I mean, probably not, because I'm a deeply flawed individual and nobody likes me.
I think the word was sad.
Sad, yes.
Depressing.
Just monotone voice.
A bit weird.
Yeah. I agree with all of that, Yousaf. Thank you.
Thank
you.
Anyway,
this is the last of the two podcasts. Have you ever thought about that? What if we get into a big fight about something and then we just refuse to do this podcast anymore?
It would be funny.
It would be funny. I mean, it'd probably be sad. But the thing is, with us two, even when we get into fight, it doesn't last for long, and we just get over it.
Yeah.
Just because we don't actually care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apart from the time you sneezed all over my face.
Yeah, that's very true, Yousaf. Should we just keep to general topics, not personal stories?
I'm still angry at you for that.
Okay.
Been about 20 years, but I'm still angry.
Well, when I was how do you remember stuff when we were 3 years old?
Okay, fine. 15 to 20 years ago.
Right, so I was 7, and you're still blaming a 7-year-old child.
Yes.
Right.
Because I remember you laughed at me and said, oh, sorry, but you laughed.
Because it's quite funny.
It was.
Your face was quite funny.
It was also disgusting for me.
Just slime everywhere.
All the snot over my glasses.
Alright, anyway, should we just talk about what's going on in the world right now? It's not as funny as...
There's a lot. Pandemic.
Yes. So historians in the future, if you're listening to this, there was a pandemic, the coronavirus.
COVID-19.
Yeah, COVID-19. And yeah, so right now we're recording this as the UK is slowly reducing its lockdown measures, and
some would say wrongly, but
I have no comment on that.
Yep.
And yeah, we just it means now we can start going out a bit more. Even then, me and Yousaf don't have any friends, so come on, smile.
Yes.
Something that we should actually probably joke about, but the situation in the US right now with George Floyd, it doesn't just affect the US. I want to make it clear, it affects all of us.
Yes, the murder of George Floyd over in America.
Yeah, by police.
Currently, the officers involved are now in custody.
Yes,
and awaiting trial.
Yeah. Anything to add to that?
Well, it's actually interesting because it has raised a lot of awareness around the world, especially in the UK. But it's also the issue of trying to go out and protest this, and then with the pandemic involved, it's likely it'll end badly in some aspects. But I think it's quite good that this has come up and people can talk about it.
And people actually going out there and protesting. That's
I mean, I don't know if you saw John Boyega's speech.
I haven't seen. I've seen. On Instagram when they've got kind of the speech up there and you can read it. I've seen that. But I haven't seen the actual video.
Yeah, I think he did
kind of like George Floyd's the video for that, which I would tell people actually go to watch because if you want to see why people are so up in arms and angry. If you watch that video, even like the first time I saw it, it wasn't the video; it was actually just a picture, and it just didn't the whole thing. Like when me and you look at old history pictures of propaganda, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the idea of a foot on the neck or a boot on the neck or whatever it is, that's a symbol of oppression, right?
Yeah.
Or a symbol of oppression from one group of people, or a symbol of power from others. So. I would tell people to go watch that. There's a bunch of things. If you're on Instagram right now, you probably see a bunch of things that you can do to help out. And I would also say to also do that. We'll probably find some links to put underneath this podcast
episode.
I'll tell people to go and check that out. You're probably thinking, you just started this podcast, so you've got literally no audience. I'm like, yeah, but I imagine in the future what's going to happen. I hope something comes out of this.
Yeah.
There is some progress, but progress is always, when you look at human history, progress is incredibly slow sometimes. So, just in case in the future, if it's not just a black person getting killed by the police, if it's someone else getting wrongly killed by the police, we're still going to need probably the links that we're going to provide below to help out whoever it is and whatever group it might be.
Yes.
So yeah, so I admit it's quite a depressing subject, but it's an important one as well.
Yes, it's an important thing to be aware of, and I'm hoping that in the future we don't ever have to return to it.
And it also, there's one link that I will probably specifically ask my brother here to add. It's the brown-eyed, blue-eyed experiment, and pretty much it just teaches you and teaches everyone in that classroom how stupid racism is as an idea. And you can watch people who normally don't get discriminated against lose their minds. And to some extent, it's quite funny as a brown Muslim person seeing that. And then on another level, it's quite a teaching experience, I would say, to people who I guess took part in the experiment, but also people watching it on YouTube, because it's quite good. Anyway, watch that, and I think we should move on.
Yes, to today's topic of gaming. That's something we've been doing a lot in lockdown.
Yes. So the original podcast that we did about 3 years ago, we talked about, because we're just trying to work something out. We're trying to do like a pilot, and then we're going to send it out to your friends to listen to. Yeah. And then we just thought, why don't you do something that we know? So what is our favourite games at that time? And I think we should do that again, Yousaf.
By the way, when he says favourite games at that time, it technically wasn't, but sure.
It was, Yousaf, because let's make it clear. So my favourite game is The Last of Us by Naughty Dog.
Is it still Last of Us by Naughty Dog?
What do you mean?
Considering Last of Us 2 and the potential issues for that game.
Let's hang on, Yousaf. Right, technically, fine. It's called The Last of Us Part 1. If you think about it, because there is a second game called Part 2
coming out.
14 days. Yes, I'm looking forward to that game.
Even though,
like I said, Last of Us was my favourite game at that time.
Sure. So Witcher 3 isn't your favourite?
Which one isn't?
Witcher 3 isn't your favourite game now.
Sorry, what? Anyway, so well, no, look. So when it comes to favourite game, you can't. I don't think you can ever, like, just like music. You can't say, "Oh, this is literally my favourite song ever," and I'm not going to listen to anything else in my life. No, you have songs that you really like. So with gaming, there are games that I enjoy incredibly. But if I had to choose one, at that time, I was going to say, because we hadn't played Witcher 3 at that time.
Yeah.
By the way, I just want to make this clear: if you're not into gaming, you might want to stick around, because we're going to have a very high level review of each of the games. Yeah. So we won't go that much into details and graphics and the hardware behind it, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. We should talk about the games and what we thought as a piece of entertainment. Yes. And you might want to check them out. Not one of them. Just to be clear, Last of Us you do want to check out. Just the other game that my brother's going to say in a minute. You really don't, because it's a really bad game. Anyway, so but yeah, no, just at that time it was my favorite game. So Yousaf, what was your favorite game at that time?
At that time, my favourite game probably was...
Don't lie.
Like Crusader Kings 2.
Oh, here we go. Here's the lies come out. No, let me tell the ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, on what console would you like me to specify?
The PlayStation 3. No, 3.
4.
3.
Fallout 4 didn't come out on PS4.
I was thinking of Skyrim was. No, Yousaf, Fallout 4. Oh, no, I was thinking of Skyrim, Yousaf. Wow, Yousaf, Fallout 4, no, right. Okay. So Fallout 4 was your favourite game at that time, Yousaf. It was. So how much did you spend on that? Your favorite game, your the game that you thought was going to be amazing, groundbreaking. I told you it wasn't going to be good, but don't listen to poor old Hasan. Yeah.
Okay, listener, if you're still listening, now what he's trying to get at is a game released by Bethesda called Fallout 4. Now,
great, wasn't it?
Now, this was a game that at E3 that year was the thing that everyone was hyped for.
And just to be clear, people that don't play games, E3 is kind of like the Coachella, would you say? Of the gaming
sure, that's
industry.
Yeah, I guess.
It's,
I don't
it's
know.
the one event. It's the one.
What's
event.
Coachella?
Right. How do you? All right, fine. It's the Christmas of the gaming industry. It's the one point in the year when all the developers, all the producers of all the games, all that kind of stuff.
Apart from
get
the good
together.
ones.
Huh?
Apart from the good ones, like Rockstar, they don't turn up.
Anyway, so everyone turns up to just basically show off either the hardware, so like new consoles, all that kind of stuff, or they turn up to show off new games. And that particular year, there had been this buzz about possibly a Fallout 4 coming out, because the games before that was Fallout 3, which a lot of people liked.
Yep.
It did have its issues, but on the whole, people did like it, and I liked it as well.
And then
there was Fallout New Vegas, who weren't made, but it wasn't made by Bethesda, but it was kind of a follow-on. From Fallout 3.
But also Skyrim. That was the thing.
Sure. Yeah, no, actually, that's quite true. Actually, well done. So there was New Vegas, and people were like, this is probably even better than Fallout 3, and we liked it a lot. And then the game they just released before Fallout 4 was Bethesda's Skyrim.
Elder Scrolls Skyrim.
And that was possibly the biggest RPG you could have bought that year.
Yep, and it was a thing that everyone, even newcomers to the series who didn't know anything about Elder Scrolls beforehand,
such as us,
loved it and thought this is the greatest RPG fantasy game you can ever
and was
create.
It?
Yeah.
Compared to other games that would eventually come out?
Well, you can't...
Witcher 3.
Well...
Just to be clear, I think I don't know about you, but I think I'm a Witcher 3 stan.
Okay, by the way, he's also annoyed at the fact that Fallout 4 won Game of the Year rather than Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Which, after...
And to be fair, I didn't know Witcher 3 came out then.
And which, after you realise what Fallout 4 was, listener, you'll realise why that should have never happened.
Yes, for the gamers who are listening to this, and there's probably one or two, you would, and you've played both Fallout 4 and Witcher 3, you would see the huge difference, because they're both RPGs, open world RPGs.
Yeah.
But Witcher 3 is better because it's more interesting.
Fallout
4 it's brown, it's grey, it's buggy. It just works, you know. Tom Howard told us that. It's just a horrible game.
Yes. Now I pre-ordered it because I went on that bandwagon thinking this is going to be the greatest game of all time.
Yeah.
And here's several reasons. And if Hasan listens to me, he can, at the end of it, give his assessment of the E3 performance of Fallout 4. Mm-hmm. Now, at E3, they showed gameplay where you can actually aim. There was actually like a real shooting mechanic to the game.
Yeah, no, this was a shooter, wasn't it, Yousaf? Yeah.
Which Fallout 3 didn't really have.
Yeah.
New Vegas sort of had.
Yeah.
So that was a big plus. Secondly, it was on PS4, so it was...
Can I just put an asterisk behind each of those lines you're going to give us?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Also,
so that's asterisk 1, just remember that for later on.
The fact that it was on PS4, it was next generation, it was one of the earliest games to go on there, it was going to be the thing that really sold the new generation console.
Asterisk against that.
Because it looked so great at the E3 demo. Also... It showed life before the bombs went off. In the Fallout universe, atomic war happened basically in 2056, something like that.
Yeah.
And then
asterisk against that as well.
Yep. It's also an interesting universe.
You got more. Okay.
Yep, it's an interesting universe. It's not Fallout 4 specific, but
okay.
The Fallout universe was actually an interesting environment, considering it showed an alternative history for humanity after World War II, where instead of developing electronics and the microtransitioner, they decided to use nuclear power to just basically power every aspect of their life. And
you know what, to be fair, I don't have an asterisk against that, because that's actually quite a good
premise. And it just shows a history where the oil runs out and suddenly humanity basically rips each other apart over the last scraps of oil. But anyway, interesting universe.
Yep.
Also the building mechanic of creating settlements.
Okay, just a big asterisk in that one. Go on, next point. I want to get to my stuff in about 5 minutes.
And it was apparently going to be... Well, you got voice antagonists and voiced protagonists. Asterisks. Also, the fact it promised to be an interesting story because something happens in the vault.
A huge asterisk, a huge one.
And it leads you to a quest across the Commonwealth.
Yes, the Commonwealth. Oh yes, asterisks.
And you would meet factions and people who
asterisks. What glorious factions you meet on the way.
And it was actually set 100 years after Fallout 3, so you would have seen some development in technology.
Can we just skip to the bit?
Okay, anyway.
Terrible.
So I watched the E3 demo and I was impressed, and I pre-ordered it and I spent £70.
Yes.
Also, another one or two things. So you get a season pass for that, where you get DLC as they prepare it and deliver
content.
Yeah, downloadable content. And also they promised that console players could get mods on their version of the games.
And just to be clear, mods, it's modifications to the game that you can make, and these tend to come from people that are outside of the industry, and they do it for free, right? Yeah.
But it's gamers themselves.
Asterisks. Huge. I mean, industrial size asterisks.
By the way, mods are tended to be used by people who actually have PCs rather than consoles. You don't usually see them on consoles.
Yes.
So that's
and
why.
Their promise was we're going to get it onto consoles.
Yeah.
No. What? Why are you doing that, Yousaf?
Okay,
they did it, didn't they?
Here's the thing. We bought the game, played it for about...
Should I run through my list of asterisks?
Yeah, sure.
Good. Right, number 1. I can't remember exactly what you said for number 1. You said something like the gameplay. And
the shooting mechanics.
So people that don't know what the game is and they haven't seen any gameplay, just check out just for a quick few seconds before you waste any more seconds of your life. And it's just it's a first person shooter, right? That's what
or third person.
It can be third person shooter, yes. Just to be clear, the shooting in that game it doesn't feel good in any way. There's no recoil to any of the guns. There's only a few guns you're like, this is a pretty good experience using this. But it's basically you pull down the trigger, it vibrates the whole controller. There you go. That's all you feel behind it. Enemies in the game, they're just bullet sponges.
Well,
yes. Well, this is the bit where you say, "Oh, but there's survival mode." There's higher damage output when you're playing survival mode, and which I will say, no, it's sad. It's like living a life within your life. It's just to be clear, people that don't play it. It basically in the game you have a health bar and then that's it. There's a health bar. There's radiation that can affect the health bar. There's attributes you can spend, all that kind of stuff. But that's basically it's basic RPG type stuff. With survivor mode, you now have to look after how hungry you are, how rested you are, and how much water you've been drinking, all that kind of stuff.
And also,
which I will say. It's sad.
You can also get infected with.
You can get affected. You can't fast travel, so you have to walk everywhere.
And you need to sleep.
Yes, you have to sleep. I remember. I said that, Yousaf. And which I will say is incredibly sad. It's amazingly sad, Yousaf.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
And you try to play survival mode, don't you?
Yep.
And you give up.
Nope.
Or you just find it boring.
Sort of.
Yes.
Yep.
Because the whole world, the aesthetic of the whole world, Yousaf, is green, grey, and brown.
And blue.
Those are the colours they chose.
And blue.
Yeah, sure. Fine.
Yeah.
Blue, sure. The next asterisk. What was the other one you said? You said a lot of rubbish there, and I can't remember all the rubbish you said.
Talk about the graphics.
Oh, jeez. All right, just to be clear, this is what game companies tend to do. I'm not just going to blame Bethesda for this, but a lot of companies do this, where they'll present something at E3 and it looks amazing, and when it came to the actual game, it looks nothing like that. At least with in terms of quality or the resolution of the game, or the graphics. The best game you can see this in is Watch Dogs by Ubisoft or Ubisoft. How do you say their name?
Ubisoft.
Ubi. Which Watch Dogs, the original game. If you see the E3, check out the E3 gameplay first, then check out the actual game, and you can see the huge difference. And you can see why people at the time were quite annoyed. Now with Bethesda's Fallout 4, I didn't see much people get annoyed. They recognised that it was a downgrade, but they didn't care that much because they got the game. It's just it had so much hype behind it, and they went, it doesn't matter as long as the story is good. The story. Let's move on to the story, shall we?
Yeah, sure.
Right. I don't care.
Can we talk about the settlement building first?
Sure. Let's spend 5 seconds on that. It doesn't do anything. Anyway, next thing. Okay. So with settlement building in games, the whole point is either it's a multiplayer game and people can see your settlement and they can walk inside of it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or what you could possibly do is just share pictures, videos, whatever on Facebook, YouTube, whatever, or a function like that, or possibly to other players, this is what my settlement looks like. There's nothing about that. There's nothing to settlement building. Literally, to me, the reason why there's settlement building is because there's nothing else in the game to do. And they went, there you go, look at this, this is amazing. Now, there was a reason in the end, and we'll go on to that, Fallout 76, but possibly at another time, because I will get very angry about that game. Very angry and very annoyed about that game. Because your defense of the game was, oh, that's why they had settlement building. Look, Hassan. Look, oh, Hassan, or Hassan. Look at it, it's amazing. Anyway, so settlement building, nothing to it. The only reason why when I'm playing the game, which is not many times, because I try to delete it as much as possible when you download it on the PS4.
Also, when you played it, it bugged out.
Oh yes, I so when I was playing the game as well. Sorry, back to the settlement building. I just do settlement building. Literally, I'll make some like a wooden plank, and just keep smashing X to build that plank in the same space in the same area. The people that made this game don't understand what clipping is.
Yeah.
Yes. And it just gives me free XP, and then if I have the idiot perk, funny enough, it boosts the amount of XP that it gives me. So then it's just a way when I start the game, I can get to level 10
quite easily.
Yeah. Well, I remember showing you that, and you go, oh, why are you cheating? You're not actually playing the game.
You also showed me the other bug where you're holding a shotgun.
Yes. So when I first bought the game, I was playing it and I went, oh, it's okay. I'm exploring the world. It's okay. It's all fine. There were some issues I had with it, but I said, you know what? Let me play the game, and it should be fine. And it got to the point where I was shooting a shotgun that was invisible, and
yes.
I took a recording of it. I showed it to you, and you went, oh no, that's fine. That's okay.
Now, I used Todd Howard's excuse of...
You said it's just a small glitch, that's all it is.
It's not a bug, it's something unique to your game.
Yes, sure. Now there's people that have played Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, not the remastered edition, the original one. There was a point in that game, after I played it like a billion hours, I want to say, there's a mission in that where you assault the White House because the Russian invading force are holding on to it. And with me, the only glitch I've ever experienced in that game, when playing the campaign mode, because I'm not going to compare the multiplayer mode, because guess what, Yousaf, Fallout 4, there's no multiplayer modes. That's it, Yousaf doesn't really have it. No. Anyway, the only glitch I ever had with that game during the campaign was there was a bit when I just reloaded my gun then I pressed triangle or something like that, or I knifed the air or something like that, and basically turned the gun from an assault rifle into a grenade launcher, a rocket launcher, a sniper rifle, that every time you shoot that, a pistol, all types of guns, basically into one gun, and that's what I got. And I genuinely was. It wasn't something I was annoyed about. I genuinely was excited that I had something like this, because I know it's a once in a lifetime kind of thing. I didn't take any. I don't remember taking any pictures of it, but I just remember that memory, and I went, "This is incredible. I love this." Now, glitches in games, I don't mind if it's funny or something like that. But in Fallout 4, it was rife.
And it was also, it broke your game. It
broke, yes, right. The biggest glitch I've ever experienced in the game where it literally broke my game. Or the story that I was following, at least. So, you mentioned another asterisk. You mentioned the factions.
Yeah.
Let me just be clear. The factions are the Minutemen, the most boring factions there to be, apart from when you're assaulting a castle of some sort. And even then, why am I, as a general of the army, why am I doing everything here?
Yeah,
have you never heard about delegation of duty or something like that?
Within 10 minutes of meeting you, the Minutemen basically offer the role of general of the whole army to you.
Yes, they're good, isn't it?
For no good reason.
I wish life was actually like that. Where you meet someone and they went, like, we don't have a general at the moment. Do you want to be a general? Yeah, sure. Can't be that hard.
Except, even though you're the general, you're expected to do every single task that needs to be done.
Yes. Okay, so Minutemen, boring as hell.
But the good guys.
Boring. There's the Institute.
Yeah.
They're Nazis.
They're not the Nazis.
Fine, Yousaf. They're future wasteland Nazis.
Those are the Brotherhood of Steel. You just realised what.
Shut up. I haven't played the game in ages, okay. Right. And then there's the Brotherhood of Steel. Basically, future wasteland Nazis.
Yep.
Well done. And
but they got cool power.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I mean, bit of bigotry, but it's all good.
I mean, a bit genocide-y, but
yeah, well done. And then the other group that you can meet, the third group, is the Institute.
Yep.
What?
scientists.
Oh, yeah, sorry, they're the US government, aren't they, or something?
No,
like that?
those are the Enclave.
Oh, okay, fine. All right.
He doesn't care.
Basically, I don't care. It's a boring game. Anyway, so the issue, they're this underground scientific people who are creating these things called synths. Then this moves on to the railroad. They're stylized on the old railroad of
America,
Civil War, that era, where they were transporting slaves from the south up to the north.
Yep.
Right. And what they're doing in this case is they are transporting synths to safe locations.
Yep.
Yes. Just be clear, synths, they are robots, but they're close enough to humans, basically. Is that a fair comparison?
Yeah, if you watch Westworld, it's basically...
Right, no, so listen, here's the thing I get really annoyed about. There's something called Blade Runner.
Also Blade
Watch
Runner.
Blade Runner.
Yep.
It does all of this stuff much, much better.
Yep.
Watch Blade Runner, watch Westworld. There's probably other stuff out there that's probably good. Yep. I don't know about it yet, and I hope to, watch it soon. But all the questions about, is there a point where, when we make robots and they become alive, they become conscious, are they then human? Are they then alive? Good. Watch Westworld and watch Blade Runner. Do not play this game. Because it does everything, but just worse.
Play Detroit Become Human. That also does that.
Sure. Yeah, it's not... we'll talk about that game in the future.
Yeah.
Because it gets a lot of stick. And I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. I understand why people don't like it.
Yeah.
But it's okay. If you play it in a certain way, that is.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that in the future. So yeah, those are the factions. They're all crap. But basically, I went down the railroad because, anti-slavery, all that kind of stuff. And in the mission, what you do, one of the missions, when you're trying to get to the end of the game, you go to the Brotherhood of Steels. They've got this airship.
Yes, you go to the...
You fly up there, you need to blow it up. Good, that's amazing set piece at least.
Yep.
And I did it, flew back down with this person called Tinker Tom. He was my pilot, and he said to me, "Well done, good job. I'll see you back at base."
Yeah,
good. He flew off. There happened to be this survivor of the. Just to be clear, this was not scripted in any way. It wasn't part of the game. Happened to be one survivor, full health of that crash of the Brotherhood of Steel. And she somehow shot down a vertibird. And those who don't know what a vertibird is, it's basically a cross between a helicopter and a plane. Yep. And somehow managed to shoot it down with a pistol or something like that. I don't understand how that makes sense. But I went, oh, okay, fine. Must be part of the game, probably. Tinker Tom, he's now dead. He died in the crash of the vertibird. Yeah. So I went back to base. I spoke to the leader of the railroad, and don't really remember her name. Don't really care. Can't be bothered to Google it. And she just did this generic line to me every time I press X to talk to her. I went, okay. There must be someone around here that I talk to, then that activates the next part of the quest. I went, okay, fine. Went to every single person in that base. Nobody wanted to speak to me. I went, okay. We can clip that in the future. No one wanted to speak to me. And I went, okay, fine. That's a bit weird. Let me Google how to get to the next bit, because I'm quite stuck right now. And I Googled it, and what should have happened is Tinker Tom went back to base, and he would announce to everyone that you did the job. So now that he's dead, I can't get past that storyline anymore. Yep. So I went, right, so Minutemen, their storyline has kind of ended for me. Yep. Well, their storyline is literally you have to take back towns and bases and villages one by one, and it's extremely boring. Then there's Brother Steel, but I've burned them up, so they don't longer exist. They no longer exist in that world. Sure, yep. Fine, okay. Then there's Institute, who are the underground, weird, mysterious group of scientists trying to make sense for some reason. Basically, the people that we're trying to fight against. As an anti-slavery kind of group, we're trying to bring these people down, because they keep making sense, and they keep making the sense do, the hard labor, all the work, and everything. Yep. And every time they get a bit out of line, they shoot them dead. Yeah. Right. Okay, so seeing that that storyline is now the only way I can finish this game, I went along with that storyline, and I hated it, every single second of it, because there's a mission now where you have to go to the railroad and kill everyone there. Yeah. Right. So I did that. I went, okay, fine. And then there's the end of that storyline, the Institute storyline. You have to make this rousing speech to the people who are on, who are above, and you have to announce that we are here. We are here to save you. Yes. We are the good guys. All that kind of, not really the good guys, but we are here. And they give you the speech to read, and I didn't follow a single word of it. I basically gave like a Emperor Palpatine kind of "I am the Senate" kind of speech, where I was like, I don't care. And then spoiler to anyone that's played the game, hasn't played the game. It's not a good spoiler. It's not good. Like, oh my god, that's amazing. Basically, start the game, you have this son, a baby called Sean, a baby boy. There's events that it doesn't really matter, because who cares? Oh, back to your point about you can see, what the world was like before the bombs.
Yeah.
For about 5 minutes.
Yes.
Not even that.
Yeah.
And then you're in a vault. Anyway, so, the baby boy, when you leave your vault, you try to go out there and find him. You find him, but he's a very old man. So it's been 200 years or something like that. And he's a very old man, he is. He's the leader of the institute. At the end of the game, he's on his deathbed, and he's just saying, "Oh, mum or dad, like, do you care about me?" All that kind of stuff. And I just went, "No, I don't. I hate you. You're a monster." All that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, this wouldn't make any sense whatsoever, because I'm now part of this group, and I'm calling the dying leader, who happens to be my son.
Yeah,
you're a monster.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the story. This is why I hate the game.
Yes,
because it's ultimately crap.
And then the DLCs came out.
I didn't play them because I couldn't play them because for some reason the DLCs were working on your game. DLCs were kind of working in my game, but they were glitched out, so I couldn't play them. Yeah. So anyway, so that was your favourite game.
Also,
and you kept saying to me, "Oh no, it's a good game. It's a good game."
I've never actually completed the main storyline.
Yes,
Hasan has.
I have.
I haven't.
You haven't.
No.
Well done.
Because I
spent £70 on that.
I got so fed up with it.
Yeah.
I was just so angry.
Yeah.
I was so upset.
And you know what this reminds me of? So there's a game out there called God of War. I will tell everyone to go out there and play that because that's probably up there in terms of my favourite games.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil any of it, but there is a bit in that game that I think... Because what happened, you just came to room one day and you were like walking up and down, pacing up and down after playing the game. And I went, something huge must have happened. And there was something quite big. If you've known that series for a long time, there is something big in that game. And there was never that one point where you stood up and you went, oh my God, that's amazing, that is. And you just kept thinking about it over and over again in your head. You never did that.
I never did that for Fallout 4.
Yeah,
well,
because it was a terrible game and I hated it.
Sorry. There's one really good DLC that they actually released, and it's to do with a character you meet in there called Nick Valentine.
Oh, yes.
And it's basically the last DLC they ever... Well, second to last. The last one was atrocious, but second to last, where you go to a place called Far Harbour, which is basically today's Rhode Island, I think.
Yes.
And it's a really good thing. The issue is it lags a lot on consoles.
It's good, isn't it?
So... it's enjoyable as long as you like the idea of playing a game that's like a PowerPoint.
At 20 frames per second.
Yeah, pretty much. It just lags out for no reason.
Great, £70, you said. £70. Oh, back to the whole, because that reminds me as well. The whole, you can build your own villages and malls and shops and, all that kind of stuff. Base building.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell the ladies and gentlemen why ultimately they put it in a game?
So basically, the only reason they put it in is then... down the line, and I don't know if they actually thought about this at the time, but they probably didn't. The last DLC they ever created was a theme park called Cola World, or Nuka Cola World, and basically it's taken over by raiders, and you can lead those raiders to attack the settlements that you built.
Wow.
And then
Incredible.
if you choose to do that in your game, everyone hates you.
Yeah, but Yousaf, you can build these amazing towns and cities, and then you can blow them up.
Except most of the time, you don't actually build these.
What's the point though?
Well,
what happens when you build this incredible civilization, Yousaf? All these bases that are the haven of society and civilization.
Yes.
And then you destroy them as a bandit. What happens then?
Nothing much.
No, it must be this huge thing saying, "Oh my God, you've ruined society," all that kind of stuff. There must be repercussions behind that.
Yeah, well, technically,
because I know one repercussion.
Oh,
a character called Preston Garvey. He just says, "I hate you," and then he walks away.
And then he says, "Hi, General. How you doing?"
Yeah,
you good, General?
It's good, isn't it? It's not like they thought about any of this, did they?
You can attack your settlements, but then you're ultimately the leader of the settlement. So we're just attacking settlements that
you created.
That you created.
Yeah.
And that people look up to you.
Makes no sense. £70.
Yeah.
You know, there's games I've bought for like £45 and they've gone down to £12. I'm like, I don't regret it because I'm like, that was an incredible experience. That was.
Yeah.
Which is God of War. That's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
With you, what happened?
Well,
I see that game me edition, which means you get the DLCs, you get everything that you need.
Yeah,
the full game. For about £10.
And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, it won Game of the Year
for some reason.
At the same year, a game called Witcher 3 came
Which
out.
we will definitely talk about in the future.
Yes,
at some point.
Basically, it is the greatest game on this console of our generation, probably.
Yeah,
and
I would go so far as saying the decade.
Yep, and it really puts CD Projekt Reds on the map in terms of game.
And we'll talk about them because if there's one company out there that I would most definitely, if they said to me tomorrow, we want you to come over to Poland and work on this, I'm like, absolutely. Yes. I mean, I've got no skills whatsoever to kind of help you out. Yeah. But I don't care. Yeah. I would just be there just for the whole experience. Yeah. We'll probably talk about the gaming industry in the future. What's great about it, what's not so good, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But that's just to put on the record that those guys are amazing. Yeah. I love them. But yeah, so that's Fallout 4. It sucks. Yeah. Yeah. But it's your favourite game?
It isn't.
Yes.
I was incredibly upset by...
It's your favourite game?
I've actually never bought...
You defended it?
I never bought a Bethesda game after that.
Come on, Yousaf. Fallout 76?
Oh, God.
We'll talk about that in the future. But basically, if you see the trailer to that game... the whole point of Fallout 76, it's kind of a multiplayer version of Fallout 4. Yeah. And to pay full price for it as well. I'm just saying that, Yousaf. Yes. And it was a terrible game as well. But in that world, you can also build bases. And I remember you saying to me,
I remember adding the phrase, "I can now understand why Fallout 4 had to come out. It would allow something like this to be made." Yeah. Except at the time, I was still skeptical of.
Yeah, and just to be clear, they did the same thing with Fallout 4 and 76, where they didn't release much in terms of gameplay or what you can actually do in the game.
Well, New Vegas they did.
And we'll talk about Fallout New Vegas in the future, that specific game, and Obsidian, the game company that created it.
And
talk about them.
Screwed over.
Well, we'll talk about that, Yousaf. Yes. Your mates at Bethesda. And just to be clear, if someone from Bethesda tomorrow said to me, "Oh, we want you to work on this job," just to be clear, you're probably as big as CDPR. I would probably say no, depending on what the game is. If it was the next Skyrim, I would probably work on it, and I'll work on it for a second because the moment I find out that you're using the same engine for the last decade, then I'll probably just quit because I'm like, what's the point? Yeah. What's the point? There is no good experience in that, and you're not making anything that's going to be remembered, are you? Yeah. Anyway. Yes. I know there's a few things in this podcast I will not talk about, but when it comes to the gaming industry, there are many things I will be talking about, and I don't care if you send an email saying, "Oh, you're wrong," and that stuff. Fine. I'm not going to read them. I'm not going to read them in any way. But yeah, so there's Fallout 4 and then there's Last of Us. Now, I'm just going to say I'm going to lie a bit and actually not talk about it that much. But just quickly, it's the post-apocalyptic world, and you are playing as Joel, and you meet someone called Ellie, and then there's this story that happens. I don't really want to go into it because there's probably a whole podcast in the future about the game and about our experiences in it. But just to say, we had a choice. I remember when buying it, it was either Elder Scrolls Skyrim, like the full thing,
£25,
or Last of Us, and you kind of threw a bit of a fit, didn't you? And you said Skyrim.
I will still defend Skyrim today, till this day. Anyway.
Of course. Just to be clear, Skyrim on console. Anyway, so and then there's Last of Us, and then we ended up just being a few weeks later. I just bought it.
But then who bought Last of Us remastered for PS4?
Here we go. Right, so just to be clear, there was Last of Us on the PS3. That's the original console, and it's kind of like its swan song, where it just showed off everything that the PS3 could ever do. And then they remastered it, and so you can play it on the PS4 plus the DLCs that came along with it. And this guy here said, "Oh, look, I bought Last of Us, remastered. I'm a fan as well." Yeah, it's because you didn't finish Last of Us 3.
Last of Us 3.
Sorry. All right, let's not cut that bit out. Let's show our mistakes.
Yeah, fine.
Last of Us on the PS3.
Yes.
You didn't finish it, did you?
I did.
No, you didn't.
I did. I very much did.
I don't think you did.
I didn't complete Ungrounded like a psychopath.
Oh no, I did that.
And
Yes, we did. Yeah, we'll talk about that in the future.
And I didn't play the DLC on PS3.
Okay, fine. Fair
Or
enough.
PS4.
Fair.
I still haven't played it.
Oh my god. Anyway, to be fair, you don't actually need to play it, but it's a nice little DLC. But we'll actually talk about Last of Us in the future, because I actually want to go into Last of Us and then Last of Us 2, which is, as of today, I think it's going to be released in about 13 days' time. And I've pre-ordered it, which I know we've just spoken about pre-ordering something that we haven't seen much of. I have seen a fair amount. There have been leaks. So gameplay-wise, it seems everything is fine. Story-wise, the thing is, I don't know what's wrong with the story because people don't like it. And if I try to find out what the story is, then it's based on those leaks, and then I'll just spoil the whole thing to me. So I'm not gonna look at the story. I'm just gonna play it, experience the journey, and see how it is. I've got faith though, because these are the same people that created Last of Us, and the same people that have been involved in the Uncharted series, which we'll also talk about in the future. But those are very solid, incredibly solid games. Now, just to be clear, you haven't played the Uncharted games, have you?
Yeah, no.
You're an idiot.
Because they don't look that appealing to me or something.
You're an idiot.
They look quite
They are amazing.
sad.
They are incredibly good.
I don't care. I don't care.
That's insane. That is.
I don't care.
You're willing to play Fallout 4 on survival mode, which is basically your life within a life, and you think that's enjoyable. But when it comes to incredible set pieces in different locations that don't involve green, brown wastelands, huh?
Okay,
it's an ugly looking game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on from that. You're gonna find that probably in the future when we talk about games, that's gonna be brought up a lot about Fallout 4 and the games that you've been playing versus the games I play.
Yes.
One
day I will play those games. Although last time I did try and play that game, I started it and with 5 minutes got bored. But yes.
That's the same thing that happened with Metal Gear Solid 5. I played the whole game, I finished it, and then the other day I tried to download it. I downloaded it again. It's a big file as well.
Yeah.
Got to literally the first cutscene, and I went, I can't be bothered, and I just deleted the game I did. So it's a good game. Well, we'll talk about that in the future as well, because I actually want to play the Metal Gear Solid series, and I've only played the 5th one, and I enjoyed the first half.
And I can tell you what's wrong with those games.
Yeah, so there's one thing. Okay. Well, I don't mean it in this way. I don't see an issue with the thing you're thinking about now, but we'll talk about it in the future.
Okay, sure, yes. Wonderful. We'll discuss.
I see why people might have an issue. I don't to the same extent.
We'll discuss that.
I have a small issue with it, but not a huge issue. Anyway, so
yes, we'll discuss that in a future episode.
Yes.
Next week's episode, or next episode anyway. I think we should discuss our trip from Amsterdam to Paris.
So as the coronavirus pandemic moves on and it doesn't become much of an issue anymore, and flights start happening again, people might want to start thinking about having a holiday or going out somewhere, traveling.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could talk about our experience on our first ever trip, to just us two, just together.
Yes.
And I found it quite as a little tease. The next episode, I found it quite enjoyable.
It was the best trip we ever had,
and that's saying something.
Yes.
Compared to all the other trips that we've had and have had since that trip. You know the one I'm thinking about, Yousaf.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
And we'll discuss that perhaps one day.
Probably not on
when we're rich and famous.
We've discussed it. Yeah, the day we can start buying more friends. Yes.
Yes.
Because we may lose some friends out of that. Or more specifically, you might lose some friends. And to be fair, they weren't that bad. But yes,
I actually enjoyed that trip. I know you had.
Yeah, it was fine.
I enjoyed it.
Yes, they're alright, but
Okay, wonderful. All right. So I hope you have a good day or night, listener. I hope you
morning.
All morning. I hope you keep
technically the day, but yeah.
Fair enough. I hope you're keeping yourself safe.
Wash your hands. Remember that, 20 seconds.
Yes. Keep 2 meters away. Do not bump into people at the supermarket.
Yes.
Do not stand next to them for no reason.
We'll talk about that in the future.
Yes. But we'll see you in a bit.
And just as a reminder, we'll probably put some links down below. I will implore everyone who are listening, which I admit probably isn't much right now. Seeing that's literally our first episode. But yeah, if you are listening, then we'll be grateful if you can check that out, and just do your bit however you can. That'd be good.
Wonderful. We'll see you next week.
Yep. See you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye. We did it, boys! We did it! Another one in the can! Yeah!